Hi, my name is Bat or Maria Vorontsova. I am very sorry to not be with all of you today, and I'm recording this presentation to show what Kew Gardens and Kew Madagascar have done in the last few years in terms of research on Madagascar's grassland ecosystems. When I started preparing this presentation, I saw a new scientific article published yesterday in the journal Science, which all the scientists have great respect for. And this paper doesn't differ very much from many other similar papers I've seen. The global community of scientists agrees that grasslands are not protected enough compared to forests, and that grasslands really deserve more care and protection. In Madagascar, the story people understand is very different to the international story that I often hear. So on this slide, you can see a new report published together by many organizations active in Madagascar, the Madagascar Protected Area Consortium partners. And you can see that in this report, they say that they categorically dismiss the theory of ancient grasslands in central Madagascar, and they believe that Madagascar was covered in 98% forest when humans arrived. So this is very interesting for me because for a scientist, it's not very often that we find ourselves in a place of very strong disagreement between different scientists. So on this slide, I make a list of all the reasons I think about. Why is there such a difference in view between Madagascar grasslands and the rest of the world grasslands? So I'm a taxonomist who specializes on grasslands, and I have been working in Madagascar for 15 years. And I think that in Madagascar, the knowledge of grassland plants is maybe not very good yet compared to other countries. And there are two beliefs that many people in the conservation community agree. So many of my colleagues working in Madagascar believe that forest is natural and grassland is not natural. And in terms of policy, I have seen maybe lack of recognition for how important pastoral livelihoods are. People believe that they're maybe old-fashioned, not suitable for the modern world. And number 4 is really a very big problem that is quite difficult to tackle, that I will talk about. It's the fact that a lot of money and therefore a lot of power and influence comes to Madagascar from Europe and from America and from international money from the global north. So really the Malagasy perspective is secondary when somebody else sets the agenda. So what did we do? As a taxonomist, I'm still working on my biggest piece of work. On this slide, you see some of the papers that we published establishing the classification system for the grasses of Madagascar. And we released a book to help everybody identify the genera of grasses and genera of bamboos. This book is freely available online on the Kew website. And very soon, we hope to publish also a photographic guide to the species. I was very lucky to work with Nanjeri Su doing her MSc in the University of Antananarivo, also Nancy doing her MSc, and August, who is a lecturer in the University of Majunga. Together with them, we did detailed checklists of all the grassy biodiversity and published them for 3 places in Madagascar: Majunga, Itremo, and Ishalo. And the blue lines on the map are all the different places I've been to collect grasses. We sequenced the DNA of all the grasses we collected, and after some statistical analysis, we think that before human arrival, maybe between 3 and 8 million years ago, grasses colonized Madagascar 71 times. And the black arrivals in Madagascar are the ones which have a C4 photosynthetic system. They could only happen in place without trees, places where light reaches the ground. So this is very strong evidence for old, ancient, pre-human C4 grass areas in Madagascar. The most common grass covering the Malagasy highland is Lutetia simplex. When you see all the grassland being brown in April, this is all Lutetia. We performed a molecular analysis, and we are confident that the Lutetia simplex in Madagascar is genetically not the same as Lutetia simplex in Africa. So we are confident that the populations of Lutetia simplex, they move across Madagascar, may approximately 500,000 years ago, before people arrived. I also carried out some work with my colleagues who are ecologists and fire ecologists. So Leanne Phelps, who you see in this picture, she analyzed the history of fires recorded from satellite images, and she analyzed them in a different way to how many people do. She studied the areas burned instead of the accidents made when the fires are counted by the satellites. And she has clearly determined that Madagascar actually has less fires than tropical Africa. And considering the diversity of the world's tropics, the fire regimes currently are natural in Madagascar, and we think there isn't a big problem with fires which are away from areas of human habitation. Caroline Lehman has worked with the IUCN on the new IUCN ecosystem typology, and you can see in red on the map the IUCN have recognized fire grasslands as a native Malagasy ecotype. Leanne, again, with a group of colleagues, have also done some analysis on how we talk about grasslands, rangelands, and woody ecosystems. And as you can see on this diagram, we find that the term woodland is very confusing, because sometimes people mean forest and sometimes people mean savanna, and there are big differences between old-fashioned descriptions of ecosystems, which are based on what we see, versus modern descriptions of ecosystems based on how we function. And together with Caroline and also other ecologists, we established a standardized plot protocol where we look at the grassy vegetation, especially in a lot of detail, and we do this in the same way in Madagascar, in Southern Africa, and in many different parts of the world. Analyzing these data, Cédric Soulou-Fundra-Notre published a very excellent paper in the journal Proceedings B, and she characterized grasslands created by fires and grasslands created by grazers. They have different grasses, They have different functional traits, and both of these seem to be historically ancient in Madagascar. And now we are working on a new project in Madagascar called TANETI, funded by the Global Center of Biodiversity on Climate. And you can see on the slide maybe our first map of grassy ecosystems in Madagascar, which we are trying to divide to help everybody identify where are the best places to plant trees, which grasslands should be left for grazing, and which grasslands really are free for development. So it's a big mapping project. A key person on this slide is Bula, which I apologize is under my video. She's our GIS analyst who's running many models looking at the distributions of all grassy species. We are stacking all of these models together to try to understand what the functional grassy ecosystems are. And together with the Missouri Botanic Garden, we are working towards publishing a checklist of all Malagasy grassland plants. And this is now my favorite project on zebu agriculture. This is where we begin by helping local communities really improve zebu production, which improves the grassland. And when the grassland is more healthy and grazed by zebu, the grasses are removed, so there are fewer fires. And using this method, we try to protect the remaining forest fragments in Ankafo Bay, Ibiti, and the Tremor protected areas. Because I'm a grass taxonomist, it was very good fun for me to learn about a new discipline. And I believe Dr. Livasua Randriana Manalina is with you today. He was really the leader of the agricultural technology in this project. And we introduced haymaking for the first time to some areas. Livasua designed an amazing cowshed, which you see on the picture. We built silage towers, and we introduce a special forage cultivar, a grass that we grow to feed zebu better. And I hope you can see on the graphs that we successfully increase the calves, the babies produced by the zebu, and we increased milk production very impressively. So this is now my last slide, and really my conclusion from this is that zebu pastoralism and zebu livestock agriculture, when supported properly, can increase the economic success of Malagasy communities all across the country. It can free up resources for biodiversity conservation, and I'm very excited that the REPAIR project is doing some policy work to support this. I want to say a very big thank you to everybody who I've worked with in Madagascar over the years, and I'm embarrassed I haven't included all the people who have collaborated with. I think the list would be very many slides long. But I hope you have a fantastic meeting today, and thank you to everybody again. Thank you very much.